Notice is hereby given of the regular meeting of the Board of Education of the Town of Westfield in the County of Union, New Jersey at 8 p.m. on the evening of April 24th, 2012, in the boardroom of the Administration Building, 302 Elm Street, Westfield, New Jersey. The purpose of the meeting is to transact the regular business of the Board and to transact any other business to properly come before the Board. This is to advise the general public and to instruct that it be recorded in the minutes that in compliance with Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975, entitled the Open Public Meetings Act, the Westfield School Board on Friday, April 20th, 2012, caused to be posted at the office of the Board of Education, located at 302 Elm Street, Westfield, New Jersey, and delivered to the Westfield Leader, the Star Ledger, the Westfield Library, the Town Clerk of Westfield, the Alternative Press, and Patch.com, a meeting notice setting forth the time, date, and location of the meeting. Vince, we do a roll call.
Mr. Matesic?
Yeah, here.
Mr. Finn?
Here.
Ms. Carey?
Here.
Mrs. Clancy?
Here.
Mr. Friedman?
Here.
Ms. Kirstead?
Yes.
Mrs. Lights?
Yes.
Mr. Slater?
Here.
Mrs. Oldham?
Here.
Jenny, could you lead us in the flag salute, please?
Join me, please, in the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Announcements. Gretchen, anything down your end?
I do. From the high school. During lunch periods this entire week, Westfield High School's health office is once again offering the program called The Girl Thing to all female students to encourage wellness, safety, and self-esteem. Health teacher Susan Kolsar, who has created these events for both boys and girls since 2005, has added new components to the Girl Thing program this year, including a self-defense workshop, a book discussion group, a presentation on protecting oneself from sexual predators both online and in one's environment, and more. An important part of the program, called What I Wish I Knew Then, continues to be a staple of the Girl Thing. Anonymous letters from senior girls that include their real-life stories are shared to 9th and 10th grade girls. The topics may deal with mental health issues, relationship violence, suicide, sexuality, divorce, and more. Resources on these issues will be given to the participants as well. In addition, 25 senior girls have volunteered to facilitate the event all week.
Thank you. Mark?
On Sunday, April 1st, James O'Rourke was honored by the New Jersey State Coaches Association and named one of New Jersey's Super 100 football players. James also was named the Courier News Defensive Player of the Year and First Team All-Area, All-County, and Mid-State 39. Congratulations, James, on your efforts.
This is for fine arts. We will kick off the spring season with our delightful spring concerts beginning May 9th with the Westfield High School Chamber Orchestra and String Symphony performing at 7:30 p.m. in the high school auditorium. That performance will be one of 24 that will take place in our schools through June 14th. All concerts will begin at 7:30 with a few exceptions, so please check the website for the complete concert schedule.
Thank you. Mitch?
Yes. Glasses for this one. I want to get it right. Congratulations to our own board member, Dr. Roseanne Kirstead, for writing a children's book entitled "And I Thought About You." Together with, she didn't know I was doing this. Together with illustrator and Westfield resident Lisa Carletta Viedes. Is that pronounced right? Okay. The recently published book, "And I Thought About You," was created to tell the story about a working mother and her child. I honestly don't know how Roseanne found the time to write a book, since she's already tackled dozens of revisions to our board policies and helped provide the foundation for our ad hoc technology committee's presentation to the public, and regularly sits on the active curriculum, instruction, and program committee, as well as being on the faculty at a major university. We are proud of you, Roseanne, for yet another successful venture, and job well done.
Thank you.
Very nice. Okay.
Well, I was about to say that this is going to be my favorite all-time announcement ever, but now I have to say it's my second all-time. So coming from Tamaqua School, Congratulations to Tamaqua school students for logging in almost 300,000 minutes of reading time during the school's reading marathon. As a result of the success, Principal Michael Cullen fulfilled his promise to permit the students to duct tape him to the gymnasium wall at the end of the school day because, as he put it, he is stuck on reading. An additional
Is he still there?
An additional challenge offered as an option to the students was to collect financial pledges toward their reading logs. In doing so, approximately $9,000 was raised for equipment and new books for the school's library and classroom libraries and to assist families within the Westfield school community. Members of the Tamaqua PTO helped coordinate the event. So, congratulations.
That's very cool.
And thank you, Mr. Cullen.
All right, the next Board of Education meeting will be next Tuesday, May 1st, beginning at 7:30 p.m., to be held in Wilson Elementary School, located at 301 Linden Ave. We will begin the evening with a very special event, the annual Phil Hauer Award Ceremony honoring an outstanding elementary educator. We are pleased to announce this year's winner is Frank Uvegas, who is an elementary school counselor at both Wilson and Tamaqua schools. Everyone is invited to attend our recognition of this fine individual who is in his 13th year of providing support for our students and families. The business portion of our board meeting will take place at approximately 8 p.m., also in the Wilson Auditorium. We will also be discussing a proposed parking and traffic safety solution jointly formulated by the Board of Education and the Town Council with respect to certain areas on and around Westfield High School and Edison School. The proposal was reviewed with the public last Wednesday evening, and we continue to welcome your feedback. It is posted on the district's website homepage, www.westfieldnjk12.org, under the Important Messages column. The Board of Education intends to vote on the proposal during our public meeting on May 15th. In addition, we will be discussing at our next meeting the possibility of adding the cost of a turf field to our bond referendum to be held in September 2012. The discussion will include a review of proposed sites and consideration of additional aspects of the plan, such as possible grandstands and the possibility of lighting, which could vary by proposed site. Again, the Board of Ed welcomes public input on this issue and also intends to vote on this proposal, during its public meeting on May 15th. All right. At this time, I would recognize the public for agenda items only. Seeing no one come to the podium, I'd ask that we approve the minutes of the board meetings held on March 27th, 2012, April 10th, 2012, and the minutes of our private meeting on April 10th, 2012. Can I have a second?
I second.
Questions, comments?
Just, this is really picky, but I believe the March 27th minutes are still labeled agenda.
You are correct.
Yeah, that
That'll
was
be
pointed
fixed.
out by,
Yeah.
yeah, we corrected that, thank you.
Anyone else? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain?
Abstain.
All right. Personnel, Jane.
Okay, I would like to make a motion to ask for the board's approval of personnel items number 1 through 19, as well as addendum item number 20. Second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Any questions before I turn it over to Dr. Dolan, which I really am very hesitant to do because we have another sad retirement.
Two retirements.
Two retirements.
Two retirements,
Yes.
that's right. We do have
Both.
retirements of 2 Westfield staff members with a total of 41 years of service to Westfield students.
Wow.
So Pat Bly, a secretary at Westfield High School, is retiring after almost 15 years of service to the district. And very often, it is Pat who is the first person to greet people at the high school. As a secretary in the main office, she is responsible for staff attendance, for substitutes, and has been helpful and friendly to all visitors. She's retiring to Florida and will be near her family there, so we wish Pat the best. Chris Carswell has been a Westfield elementary teacher since 1986. First, she was a basic skills teacher at McKinley School, and then for the vast majority of her career, she's been a first or second grade teacher at Tamaqua School. Chris has assisted the district as a member of Westfield's Language Arts Leadership Team, offering her knowledge of balanced literacy for revision of the elementary curriculum. For many years, she joined Paula Roy and Barbara Ball as a leader of the district's summer writing workshop for teachers. But Chris is best known for her love of primary students and for the creative ways she has engaged them in learning. And we certainly wish both Pat and Chris well in their retirements. As was mentioned before, they are two people who have contributed a great deal to this district, and we will miss them.
Any other comments or questions?
Mrs. Clancy?
Yes.
Mr. Friedman?
Yes.
Mr. Matesic?
Yes.
Mr. Finn?
Yes.
Ms. Carey?
Yes.
Ms. Kirkland?
Yes.
Mrs. Lights?
Yes.
Mr. Slater?
Yes.
Mrs. Eldridge?
Yes.
Facilities, Jane.
Yes, briefly, we do have an item under facilities, but I will just briefly add to Rich's announcement in the beginning that facilities did meet on April 12th, and we have been continuing our discussion, and we will be bringing that forward, as Rich had indicated, on May 1st to public discussion regarding the turf aspect of the bond referendum, the possibility of it. And at this time, I also would like to make a motion to, got ahead of myself, ask for the board's approval of facilities, item number 1. Second. And I'm just going to ask Mr. Unero if he could just say a couple words regarding that.
Yes, this represents a case of a former engineer that was employed by the district who was recently convicted of manipulating construction bids over the past 10 years. This resulted in an estimated additional cost to the district of $44,000. That figure was supplied by the Attorney General's office. This payment represents a reimbursement for that estimated overcharge.
Any other comments or questions?
Are we required to, where does that money land? Where are we required to, do we do whatever we want with it? Does it have to
Correct.
go
We do
into a
whatever we
certain
want with it.
pocket?
Right,
Okay.
correct. Ms. Carey?
Yes.
Mr. Finn?
Yes.
Mr. Matesic?
Yes.
Mrs. Clancy?
Yes.
Mr. Friedman?
Yes.
Ms. Kirkland?
Yes.
Mrs. Lights?
Yes.
Mr. Slater?
Yes.
Mrs. Eldridge?
Yes.
Long-range planning, Jenny,
No report.
no report. Policies, Roseanne?
Yes, I would like to ask the board to approve for first reading the following policies. 1510, for first reading, right, 1510, rights of persons with handicaps or disabilities, non-discrimination. 5130, withdrawal from school. 8140, pupil enrollments, and 8465, hate crimes and bias incidents in schools.
Second.
All right.
Discussion, questions? We'll go in order. Are there none? 1510. I'll just give you, this has been revised, and it is more embellished, let's say. Things are fleshed out a little bit more than they had been in our previous policy, and that's as per Strauss Esme's, I guess, recommendation. And we will be adding on the bottom of the policies the first time they were approved, so that this is not on this version, but it will say March 7th, 2000, which was when the previous 1510 was approved, and now we're revising it, and then there will be a revised date on that. So I just wanted to make note of that. And then Any questions? They seem to be fleshing out more definitions and labels. Like the good children. Okay, 5130, withdrawal from school. This one was originally approved on February 19, 2002, so that will be noted on the bottom of the policy. And there is one new statement in this policy, in the old one. And that is, any pupil who indicates that he or she may drop out of school before entry to the 9th grade should be reported to the building principal and be provided with counseling.
Where is that listed?
It's in 5130.
On my copy. On the first page?
Yep. It's second paragraph, second sentence.
Oh, it's not in red?
No.
Oh, I guess that's why I couldn't find it.
Yep.
That's a new statement?
Yep.
Suggested by the state, not necessarily an issue we've dealt with in this district, but suggested by the state.
$81.40. Again, the approval date will be put on the bottom, and for this policy, it's May 20th, 2003. I have a question, Dr. Dolan.
Yes.
I noticed on this reading that the regulation title is different than the policy title. And I'm wondering if that was an oversight on our part.
I think it's an oversight.
Okay, so that will be called pupil enrollment as well, the regulation?
Yes.
Okay. Questions, comments? Okay. Hate crimes and bias incidents in schools. The approval date for this, the original approval date for this policy was December 2nd, 2003, so that will be noted on the policy. Questions?
There's no cross-reference with any of the HIB policies. I didn't see that was necessary. I mean, this seems to be a higher level in a sense, but.
I was just going to say that I think this tends to address issues at a high level. There could be a crossover, that's certainly true, in which case both would apply.
Is that something we should do you think?
Wouldn't most of these incidents come in as a bullying? Isn't that how we would become aware of them?
It would depend, honestly. I mean, some of this references graffiti, for example, so that certainly may not fall under bullying, but it still could be a hate or bias crime. So I think it would. We can certainly look and see if there's a place where it should be referenced.
Given that harassment is number 17 on the list of 18 crimes under the definition, it might be worthwhile to have a note
Right.
of reference.
We'll reference both, I think, the HIB policy and the code of conduct. Yes?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. You might want to consider whether or not you have to cross-reference it on the other direction also. If there's some possibility that a HIB incident is predicated on bias.
I almost think we did.
I think we did too, but
Yeah,
I
but we'll
did
check.
not say that for sure, because I don't know for sure.
Yes. We cross-referenced a lot in that one, so, but we can check it out.
So is that good? Any other questions? Okay.
Thank you.
I didn't get the second on that.
Mrs. Lights.
Yes.
Ginny?
Ginny,
Lights.
second.
Okay. Mrs. Kirsten?
Yes.
Mrs. Lights?
Yes.
Mr. Matesi?
Yes.
Mr. Finn?
Yes.
Ms. Carey?
Yes.
Mrs. Clancy?
Yes.
Mr. Friedman?
Yes.
Mr. Slater?
Yes.
Mrs. Oler?
Yes.
Oh, yes. I would ask the board to affirm the superintendent's decision on 12 HS 20 for the reasons set forth therein.
Second.
Comments, discussion? Vince?
Ms. Kirsten?
Yes.
Mrs. Oler?
Yes.
Mr. Matesi?
Yes.
Mr. Finn?
Yes.
Ms. Carey?
Yes.
Mrs. Clancy?
Yes.
Mr. Friedman?
Yes.
Mrs. Lights?
Yes.
Mr. Slater?
Yes.
All right. Curriculum, instruction, and programs. Ann?
Yes. I would ask the board to approve for final reading the following curricula. Under industrial arts, robotics, and under fine arts, ceramics 2.
Second.
Thank you, Mitch. And can I add this on, or do we have to vote separately for the? Jim?
Which, number 3?
One at a time.
Yeah, but okay. Are there any questions about these two? We've spoken about them in the past.
Oh.
Okay.
Ms. Carey?
Yes.
Mr. Slater?
Yes.
Mr. Matesi?
Yes.
Mr. Finn?
Yes.
Mrs. Clancy?
Yes.
Mr. Friedman?
Yes.
Ms. Kirsten?
Yes.
Mrs. Lights?
Yes.
Mrs. Oler?
Yes.
And in addition, I would ask the board to approve the overnight field trip for Westfield High School, for the Westfield High School track team to participate in the International Track Meet at the University of Pennsylvania, Philadelphia. This trip will take place on April 26th through April 27th, so it's coming right up. Second, Ginny. Any questions?
Ms. Carey?
Yes.
Mrs. Lights?
Yes.
Mr. Matesi?
Yes.
Mr. Finn?
Yes.
Mrs. Clancy?
Yes.
Mr. Friedman?
Yes.
Ms. Kirsten?
Yes.
Mr. Slater?
Yes.
Mrs. Oler?
Yes.
All right. Finance, I'd ask the board to consider finance motions 1 through 8. Second?
I second.
I would note that finance motion number 1 relates to previously approved facility actions. So that was the replacement of a portion of the Edison windows, the renovation of 2 bathrooms at Edison, and the replacement of boilers at both Franklin and McKinley Elementary Schools. These, we have previously approved the base cost for those projects. These additional costs are for architect fees, testing fees, and various contingencies. To the extent contingencies don't occur, any excess funds would, the board could move back to the facilities and maintenance account. The items 3 and 4 are, Vince, maybe you could say a few words about those in terms of anticipated potential savings for the
Right.
district.
Yes, we are a member of a purchasing cooperative that goes out to bid on behalf of a number of school districts throughout the state to purchase electricity. And that bid came in very well, basically a 22% decrease in the rate for the supply of the electricity. We're estimating that as a result, our cost next year will be $73,000 less than the cost this year. So we're very happy about that.
Any comments or questions?
Mr. Matesi?
Yes, I would
Well,
abstain.
sorry.
What?
Are you going to make a comment? I'm sorry.
No.
Oh, okay. Ms. Kirsten?
Yes.
Mr. Finn?
Yes.
Ms. Carey?
Yes.
Mrs. Clancy?
Yes.
Mr. Friedman?
Yes.
Mrs. White?
Yes.
Mr. Slater?
Yes.
Mrs. Oler?
Yes.
All right. Ask the board to note the notes for the record. And move to the legislation report.
No report tonight, except to say that Dr. Dolan and I are going to the Garden State Coalition meeting tomorrow, where I believe tenure reform will be the topic. So we'll bring back a report.
All right, thank you. Any unfinished business? New business to come before the board? Ad hoc committee reports.
Just a brief statement that tomorrow morning, the Technology Committee will continue meeting. We'll be meeting with a group of parents that have been involved on the PTC technology side, working as a bit of a focus group to hear some of the things that we've been working on and just sort of continue the conversation. I think the other major announcement is that the Voice over Internet Protocol new phone system has been put into place, and I guess I would ask Dr. Dolan how the first week has gone.
It's going well. I mean, anytime we have a new piece of technology, there's a little bit of learning to go on, but I think we're doing pretty well. All the offices now have the new phones. That's the first phase of the project, and we'll continue on with other phases so that in the near future, all the teachers will have access to voicemail. But right now, we focused on all the offices in the building. So it's working well so far.
Terrific, terrific. Great. Okay, well, we'll have more to add in the coming weeks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Liaison reports? Jane?
On April 12th, I attended the PTC President's meeting. They are individually and collectively interested in an online payment system, and I understand that the business office is looking into that. Yes.
We have been looking into it, and we know we want to have something ready for the next meeting with the PTC.
Excellent. The question is how to receive and aggregate payments for things like pizza day or sub day or clothing apparel sales, some online credit card payment availability might be to their liking. We know that there is the potential for an additive fee for processing that might be put on each transaction, but it seems that concept seems to have worked well for youth sports groups and the Westfield Memorial Pool subscription for people paying online. So I look forward to hearing that report. I also attended the PTC General Membership meeting, although I got there fairly late into the meeting. One topic that has been going on there is regarding graffiti seen in town, not necessarily on schools as a focal point, but on stop signs and other municipal signs throughout the town. So I know one individual who has been attending that meeting for several months has been in contact, I understand, with the town council and town administrator to talk about what could be done to raise awareness locally about graffiti and its effects. What if it portends another kind of behavioral problem within the town. I also attended the McKinley PTO general meeting. And I was very happy to hear, well, two things I wanted to mention. One is they're very excited about getting their new boiler over the summer. And we understood that their current boiler is a room full of equipment and will likely be replaced with a stacked system. So, of course, we were wondering what would take the place of that room's function. Not that it will become an instructional space, but it certainly will be. We'll have plenty of room for custodial support there. Another thing I was very happy to hear was that Principal Matt Bolton was talking about the opportunity that he would have to furnish 3 classrooms with smart boards. And based on Mr. Bolton's conversation with Mr. Walker, he discussed his possible opportunity to purchase Epson Bright Link
projectors for $1,600, short throw, no shadow, mobile projectors. They would be options to, instead of smart boards, because they basically create the context of smart board on any wall surface, rather than having to mount a smart board for $5,000 in one physical location. You can use one of these projectors to throw light onto a wall or a surface, and it becomes a smart surface, basically. So people were quite excited about that opportunity to save so much money and invest in new technology. And I know that this board and public will hear more about new technology in the coming weeks as the Ad hoc Technology Committee and the administration starts to reveal some of our purchasing plans.
Thank you. Roseanne?
I attended the Roosevelt PTSO meeting last week, and they spoke a lot about end-of-year activities they had planned and a whole host of events that students will be engaged in throughout the testing weeks, including community service, expanding students' interests. I think one group of 8th graders today actually went to Classic Time and did some sort of cooking lesson. And so there have been a variety of activities planned, so they were discussing that.
Thank you. Any other liaison reports? All right, I'd recognize the public for questions and/or comments. Seeing no one come to the podium?
Excuse me, if
Yes.
I could just make a comment back on the facilities motion that we approved, accepting the receipt of $44,000. While there are no restrictions in terms of how we use it, the Administration and Facilities Committee has recommended that those funds be deposited back in the maintenance reserve account and thus fund future projects. Just wanted to make that point.
All right, should we discuss and re-vote on that? Because right now they're
I
just...
don't think we need a formal resolution to do that, but that's up to the board.
Well, we accepted the money, but we didn't accept where it was going.
Right,
We could amend the resolution if you like.
all right. Any objection to amending the resolution to allow that money go back into the facilities maintenance reserve account?
I'd like some discussion.
Sure.
What was the discussion at the Facilities Committee?
Just that it seemed to be the logical place to put it, since those projects were the ones that
Regarding
actually
facility
were bid out.
projects.
There were facilities projects that were bid out by the engineer. That wasn't an exhaustive discussion, just seemed like the logical place.
It's more of a logical. Yes.
I guess I would ask Dr. Dolan, is there somewhere else we need it? Is there something else we need to do with it? But you don't have to answer it right now. I mean, maybe you want to think about it.
So maybe it's best to keep the motion the way it is for now, and then we can have a,
Can have it next meeting, we can have a discussion.
exactly, sure.
Very good.
Just for sake of clarity, Mr. Yanaro, did you say the maintenance reserve or the capital reserve?
Maintenance reserve. We don't really have a capital reserve account.
Is that the same fund?
No, it's a different fund.
We don't have a capital reserve?
Actually, we have an old capital reserve account that has about $800 in it.
So the money that we put into reserve, we never put in the capital reserve?
It's in the
No.
maintenance reserve.
We
Oh,
put
interesting.
it into a maintenance reserve. The capital reserve is more for major projects where there is reimbursement from the state. A few years ago, there used to be a reimbursement, a partial reimbursement from the state, either in the form of a grant or debt service state aid. Upon the advice of the county business administrator, he recommended putting it into a maintenance reserve account. It's much more easy to withdraw from, as opposed to a capital reserve.
What would be the restrictions on withdrawing it from the capital reserve fund?
It
Or
has,
why, what's the different criteria?
it is, it's related to, it's usually related to bond issue projects where there's where you're basically depositing in the board share of the funds for the project. And the withdrawal process is just a little more complicated in terms of needing county authorization to make that withdrawal, whereas with the maintenance reserve withdrawals, it just requires a board resolution.
So interesting. I'm not sure that $856 or whatever it was ever meant to be put into a capital reserve fund that had to be withdrawn only for a bond.
Well, it's.
It could be left over from a project.
It's left over from a previous bond issue projects. You're looking at me like, I'm sure we didn't deposit $800 into the account. I'm sure it's a leftover from a previous account years ago.
But you weren't here.
All right, so we will take that issue up at the next meeting. Thanks for the clarification. All right.
Okay.
Then I would ask the board to consider the following resolutions. Resolve that the Board of Education move into private session for the purpose of discussing personnel, litigation, and negotiations. And be it further resolved that any discussion held by the board, which need not remain confidential, and the results of the discussion will be made public as soon as practicable. Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Oh,
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstain? All right. We're adjourned.